When we're talking about predictions in statistics, we can relate it back to our algebra. Y equals mx plus b, those are predictor lines. We just looked at them before more in just a math concept instead of more broad. This was always the slope right here. Now, the prediction piece, the only thing that really changes here is kind of the order. And we say it's y equals a plus bx. Well, the part attached to the x is still the slope, so it doesn't matter what order we put it. And in this case, this is the y-intercept. Well, in this case, that would be the y-intercept. So the very first problem that you had to look at was you had to compare some lines. Now, you could look at them very, very deep, or you can kind of just look at the difference between them. I know if I was to draw a little person that this guy has a positive slope. I know this guy would have a negative slope and this guy would have no slope. So what I'm doing is here, which one of these lines have a positive slope? So if I'm looking at my slopes, well, this one's positive, this one's negative, and no slope would mean I can't have an x. Therefore, by process of elimination and what I already know about slopes, I can predict the correct answers here. The next problem. The graph below shows the relationship between how many sit-ups you can do and how fast you can run 40 yards for a study of female athletes. Now, the graph, I didn't draw the graph, but really what I'm looking at is a graph that looks like this, that has a negative slope because they give me the regression line. What I have to do now is think about a few things. What is my explanatory, which is my x, and what is my response, which is my y? Well, in this case, my x is going to be my sit-ups, and my response is going to be my 40-yard or my run. So basically what they're saying is determine on how many sit-ups you can do will determine how fast you can run. So the first piece, so find the predicted time in the 40-yard dash for a subject who can do 10 sit-ups. So 10 sit-ups, all I'm going to do is take that equation, 0 to 9 for 10 sit-ups, and then take the same equation, but change it for 40 sit-ups. I'm going to plug both of these into my calculator and find a solution for each. So if I do 10 sit-ups, my 40-yard dash should be 7.28 seconds. And if I do 40 sit-ups, it should decrease to about 6.41. Next, they tell you to interpret the slope. So there's a sentence we're going to use to interpret. On slide 2 of the Prezi, it tells you exactly kind of how to fill it in, how to do the slope, and how to do the y-intercept. So the slope, what we're going to do is we're going to focus on specific words of the slope. It always starts with for every. Now, for every, at this point, I list what the slope is. For every 0.029, so this part really is you're just putting in the slope. Now, if you weren't giving prompts, you would have to tell if the slope is positive, it's increasing, if it's negative, it's decreasing. So in this problem, it already wrote the decrease for you. Okay, so it's decrease in response. So the decrease, so we're thinking about, this is another way to look at it. Slope is rise over run, which is the y over the x. So the y is going to come first. So decrease in the run, we predict a gain of one more and at this point, it's going to be the sit-ups. because that's the x. So to recap, if I'm interpreting the slope, I put the number of the slope, the y goes first, and the x goes second. So to predict a y-intercept, when we find a y-intercept, we always plug in a 0 for x and solve for y. So that's kind of what we're doing. Again, on the second slide of the Prezi, it has the formula to help you follow. But basically, when the x is 0, so in this case, when the sit-ups are 0, we predict that the 40-yard dash to be, and at this point we actually physically have to put in a 0 right here. So if I put a 0 right there, I predict that the y-intercept is 7.57. So those two pieces, I would go back to the Prezi and help you put in the parts that you need to fill in.